Okay, everyone. I'm back. Been a while, been a hot minute. Here's the thing. Major League Baseball, the season has is going to opening day is coming around, okay? Man, couldn't get that out. Opening day is coming around, and I want to talk more about the A's and the Rays. I think it's very embarrassing what Rob Manfred has allowed in Oakland or now Sacramento or what should have been Vegas by now, but it is ridiculous. They say they can't play in Oakland anymore because, I don't know, rent's high apparently. But if that's the case, move to Vegas because it makes no sense to play in a AAA venue just to be there for 3 years. That's not even a real stadium when you're going to be in Vegas anyway at one point, get your foot in the door and start establishing a fan base. It makes no sense to me. That's a bit of an embarrassment. Also, you could have, I don't know if Rob Manfred could have necessarily done this, but what I would have done was at least make a pitch to the World Cup. See what I did there? Um, Make a pitch to the World Cup and say, hey, the Oakland A's are going to be out of there by 2026. We can renovate this if you pay us, and we'll discount you. We'll use that money to renovate the stadium, clean this up, and and you guys play there too. Um, I mean, soccer's good in the Bay Area. Soccer is popular in the Bay Area, but God forbid they actually fix up the Coliseum or actually do something with it. I mean, it's awful at this point. They should have built a new stadium in 1991 though, but that was like my father went there in like 1988 or 1991, like between that time, and he told me during that time, yeah, Adam, that was not a good stadium. You should, yeah, that they should have built that up much sooner or just moved to a different location. Yeah, it was that bad. So there's that. And I mean, there were like you sold it out. Like the Coliseum sold out on its final day within Major League Baseball. But they should be playing there in 2025. And I don't care that Fisher is not renting. You either play in the Major League Stadium, of what should be your current home, or if you're going to move to Vegas, go play in your AAA ballpark there, not Sacramento. I mean, you're technically not even in the Bay Area anymore, so just make the distance already, or just make the trip to Vegas. Stop holding back too. And and John Fisher is an embarrassment to the MLB. I think in some ways he's worth of a sports owner than Dan Snyder because at least Snyder didn't deal with this stadium crap. Uh, Stu Sternberg in Tampa Bay. I think it is looking clear now that the Rays are not going to want to stay around in the Tampa area. I think they're going to Orlando. I think they need to either go to Orlando or Omaha or Charlotte or Nashville or maybe Raleigh at this point or just or somewhere. Louisiana is looking is okay right now. I mean, it's fine, but I think that they need to get off that island of St. Petersburg at this point. It's not a good drive to get there in the first place. I mean, for the time during the early 90s, Tropicana Field was great. It hosted the Lightning and it hosted many NCAA basketball championships too, a few of them, and some games as well. And some motocross stuff too, but it was always meant to be a baseball stadium. And they came close to getting the White Sox, the Giants, and even the Mariners too at one point, and never got it. Never got either of those teams. They had to wait for expansion um, when the Devil Rays came in. and it took them years to get that team. And over the past, I mean, 1998, they're not even 30 years old at this point. Um, but I mean, St. Petersburg is going to be is a great place to be, but it's just not happening too. And I think that, you know, the county commissioners and the county legislators that voted on this made a mistake overall. I don't think they should have ever called their bluff because the Rays, because, this is a business too, at the end of the day. Baseball is a business, or at least Major League Baseball is a business. Little League, not a bit. I mean, even Little League is technically a business because you're paying someone to have your kid in the league, essentially. But I mean, no one necessarily gets traded or cut from Little League. I mean, maybe if you're playing travel ball, you would get cut, but for the most part, no one's getting cut in that sense. The I would have never voted on giving them the money anyway, because on principle, we should be funding, you know, the the owners need to fund this, not the fans. I mean, the fans will pay money to go to the games and go to the concessions and get the souvenirs and the jerseys and the hats and all that. But but any funding for a stadium should always come from the owners, and it should be done through private means because you're going to have teams moving around at this, all the time. And I mean, the Orioles almost could have gone to Nashville had that weird vote with Governor Wes Moore not taking place, or what he did. I can't say exactly what he did, but they could have been gone. And and I assure you that Oriole Park at Camden Yards is the best MLB stadium there is. Better than Yankee Stadium, better than Citi Field. It is the best, aside from the left field wall that goes back and it looks like a bad video game design. Aside from that, it's the best ballpark there is. But but as for Tampa Bay, I think it was always kind of stupid to have, you know, just an enclosed dome. They were the last ones to do it. Essentially, now they're going to be playing outdoors, and now you're going to have to. They might lose 6 or 7 games, and I think that they should. And you have 81 away games that you have to take care of. Not mentioning that those games could get rained out too. This is going to be pushing stuff back too. And what if they get to the playoffs? You have to either make up the games or something along the lines that, the AL East is a tough barrier. It's tough. It's one of the toughest divisions in sports. You have my Orioles, you have the Yankees, you got the Red Sox, you have the Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, Rays. Oh, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Who can forget about them? But I think that. But bottom line is that this could affect playoff games or standings, and who wins where too. Um, do you make up some of the games at, let's say, the Rays are playing the Orioles, and you have to go to Baltimore to go play those games? Those technically home games, and they just bat last, and then they pitch last. And it's essentially a home game of the Orioles, but in that sense, it would be uh, that the Orioles would just hit first. I mean, and you would have always fans there. Camden Street is always busy there. I'm just saying. But back to the Rays. I'm sorry I'm getting off topic. The Rays need to seriously come up with a plan to get a stadium done within the next 2 years. Barry Larkin could absolutely get something done in Orlando, and I think that he should to keep the Rays down here in this state of Florida. Because I mean, it does not make sense for them to be out in St. Petersburg. In the heart of Tampa, they don't have, you know, they've got the Lightning now, and they have the They had the Buccaneers for so long too. And I actually was thinking for a moment, maybe they should just go play in the Buccaneers arena, uh, Buccaneers Stadium. But it's like, nope, nope. It's like 280 to right field or whatever. It would be like 280 to right field, which is, horrible dimensions, by the way. And and even in Florida, they have, it's an open air stadium too. And I'm like thinking, if it'd been a dome, they could have gotten some stuff done with that, but no. Oh man, the Rays are I look, the Rays are a great baseball team for what it's worth. They're a great baseball team now. And it is a shame that they have to go pay their AL East rivals to go play in their single A ballpark. Not even their triple A ballpark, but just their single A ballpark. It is embarrassing too. It's embarrassing when the Coyotes um had to go play at Arizona State where the Sun Devils played. And it's a college hockey arena. It's not an NHL arena. By the way, if you've ever been to Hershey, Pennsylvania, that arena had a bigger capacity. That arena has a bigger capacity than what the Coyotes were playing in. Which brings me to my next point. Some of the cities like Sacramento, Charlotte, um, I wouldn't even necessarily say Madison, um, Columbus maybe, but you'd have three teams in Ohio. Northern Virginia area, maybe you could get something done there in Arlington, but that would be confusing because of the Texas Rangers. But you should be to the AAA minor league teams. They should seriously start considering building this up and building up their ballparks too. Now, they don't have much of an upper deck, but what I would suggest is that you build the outfield seating. Let's take Sacramento. You build the outfield seating, you actually build in the stands to that ballpark, and then you can get it to 35,000, 40,000 seat facility that way, but it's just that everyone's going to be on the lower decks at that point. I think that's where you could go, or you could do something like Koshian Stadium and like really build up that outfield seating over there and make it like that if you really want to go that way. But I think that you could still have a team in Sacramento. I'm not against a team in Sacramento. I'm against how this happened, and now and all like $2 billion going to Vegas. It's like I think the people of Vegas do feel cheated. Even though they want their own expansion team, you use this funding, John Fisher. You need to honor your obligation and at least go play there until that stadium's built. You know, just so the taxpayers shoved out that money for you, so you should go play there. I do. I genuinely do think that. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I'm getting back into the swing of this, so please forgive me. I think I think that Vegas is a great, opportunity for the A's or the Athletics too. They should, and you've got Utah too. There's a lot of things that can be built up at this point. And and you can absolutely take that $900 million to that AAA ballpark in Salt Lake City, I believe. I'm actually going to look this up, but Utah has got $900 million. They could certainly take on the White Sox or the A's at this point if they ever, if the White Sox ever came to it. Triple A ballpark, Salt Lake City. All right. Yeah, the Salt Lake City Bees or the Salt Lake Bees, Smith's Ballpark is what it's called. Um, Now it obviously does not have, it only has like one upper deck of seating at this point, and I'm looking around this too, but it's got some potential too of what. what it could be. Just get rid of the giant scoreboard or the giant billboard out in center field, and you're golden too. There are, I think the downside is that I think that yeah, the bullpen's on the field. That's one of the few things, and you've got a huge backstop there in the back, um, behind home plate. But it really does look like a great ballpark for what it is. Um, but you build up some outfield seating too. And I know it would take away from some of the mountains, but you can actually put in an actual MLB stadium there. You could actually build it up to be an MLB stadium, despite, the bullpens on the field and stuff. And even though, the fans are a little bit further away from the action, you could still make it work there if it ever came to it. Omaha is has a stadium of about 24,000, and and uh and there's actually been an MLB game play there. The Royals and the Tigers played there, and really the Royals are going to be the closest team to there, but it's not. But they don't exactly have a home team to root for. They don't. It's not like being in Maryland and rooting for either the Nationals or the Orioles, or being in North Carolina. You probably are going to be a Braves fan if you're in North Carolina. Might be an Orioles fan, might be a Nationals fan, depending on your location in there. Or you could just be, you could even be a Royals fan there too. But, if you're in a certain part of the country, you're not necessarily, you don't have a home team to root for in that sense. You might root for the White Sox if you're in Omaha, but they do have the stadium capacity at this point for 24,000, and Omaha, it's where the college baseball tournament is held. I think that you could certainly build up that uh, facility and get it to 35,000. It's 24,000, need 11,000 more. You just build out the outfield with all the seating and stuff. I think that you could certainly do something with that. So Omaha is certainly on the table. Nashville needs to just have a stadium, but they're not going to get one. At least not within the next 5 years. They already poured so much money into the Titans. So forget it. You know, some guy commented on one of my videos and said, Nashville, not for the Rays. They're not getting any MLB stadium at this point because of, all the money they poured into the Titans, the city poured into the Titans. So unless some billionaire comes in there and props them up, I ain't seeing this. I ain't seen anyone go to Nashville. Charlotte's still good at this point. Montreal, I think that Montreal is going to be your another good choice. Canada, that's Canada's first city introduction to the MLB. The Expos were before the Blue Jays, and after all that, I think the people of Montreal actually root for the Blue Jays if they're into baseball, and some of them are. And I think that you're not going to have Olympic Stadium necessarily you know be their home. I don't think they should. They need to either you know give it an entire makeover or just build something out different entirely. Even the exterior of the stadium was awful. I think you just need to build it out too as well. Just build it out as well. And once again, the AAA ballparks could absolutely be, you know, I mean, you're not going to get more than another deck over there. And unless you're going to build out three, ground seating and then two decks of seating, you know, are you going to actually, have a true upper deck feel in the outfield. And I'm not against that too. But we see a lot of AAA ballparks where it's just a bunch of ads on billboards and stuff and everything of the sort that's like it's just Larry's Plumbing, and then it's like an ad on the um it's an ad on the out on the outfield fence too. I think that's a load of BS too. But I think the bees could certainly build that up uh in the sense, certainly in Salt Lake City too. So if anyone wants to go over to Salt Lake City, whether it's good old Chicago or the A's, I think that they should go there absolutely. Rays, I say keep the Rays in the East, or move, or if they ever were to move to Nashville, I guess the Guardians would have to come over to the AL East, and you're still going to have a very hard division regardless, though. But I think the Rays need to stay where they are in the division. I think the A's need to stay where they are in their division. Maybe just move the White Sox there and just at some point too, because there is like Denver has like about a 200-mile radius where there's no other teams nearby, and I think that you putting a team in Salt Lake City would be great though, but and it would be great potential too. Expand the game too. But and that's another thing too. So aside from this long rant, expansion. The only reason why the MLB hasn't expanded is because of the Rays and the A's. They could never figure those two teams out, and it's really a shame that they are, their stadiums are an embarrassment to the league. But that's about all. See ya.